everybody, John12 back here again with another video, and I'm here to give you my official review for Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F, or as it's obviously known in Japan and other Asian countries, Fugatsu no F. But that being said, I'm here to give you my personal thoughts and 2 cents on this movie, which is of course the follow-up to Battle of Gods, and of course it is the 15th Dragon Ball Z animated feature film, and obviously, seeing as how for the last week or so, it's had its American, US, and English country release, so I'm pretty sure a lot of us who are over here at the States and possible at Canada have pretty much gotten to view the movie in a theater near you, which of course if you've not, please go do so. If you've gotten some kind of leeway to getting tickets to this event, which is a very limited theatrical run, then definitely do so. I'm just saying, go get them, steal them from a friend, buy it off a vendor, just create them using telekinesis or some kind of magical power that you have inside of you. I'm just saying, get your tickets, watch the movie, see it in the theater near you with an audience that are obvious DBZ fans, and then we can get into this movie, because this review will contain spoilers. But that being said, let's get into this movie. First off, there was a lot of hype going into this movie for various reasons. New transformations, new characters, and of course Frieza returning. Yes, Frieza, Lord Frieza is the main bad guy of this movie, who of course we get to see just as more of a Frieza story than anything else. The interesting thing was that Battle of Gods, in comparison, which is the predecessor to this film, is essentially more or less a return to the characters we all know and love. It was a nostalgic rush. This is more or less Frieza's story, and it's all about Frieza. It's essentially Frieza in hell, which I thought was hysterical, because when you think of hell, you think of Hitler getting raped in the ass. No, hell is pretty much a lovable, colorful, beautiful, Pokemon-esque kind of wonderful Toriyama world where your most wonderful dreams would happen, except for characters that don't want anything to do with that, which I thought was hilarious, because in the anime, hell is a lot different. It's HFIL, and of course there's spikes and demons all over the place, but in this anime universe, specifically in the movie universe, it's the complete opposite of that. But I guess because that was just filler and not canon, they can pretty much do whatever they want, and I'm okay with that because that was hysterical. But that being said, Frieza is returned back to the living, seeing as how he still has, characters out there in the universe that still follow him and are part of his universal trade organization, which is Togoma and Sorbet, who essentially bring back Frieza from the dead to essentially continue his bidding across the universe. But the second Frieza comes back to life, he essentially has one goal in mind, which is he's bent on revenge towards the Saiyans, Earth, and of course Goku, his main nemesis, which is pretty much where we get into High Gear, which is this film is all about. Essentially, the entire movie or plotline is essentially 1/3 act of essentially Goku versus Frieza. Goku has a new transformation, which of course, if you've been living under a rock and not watching any internet spoilers, he has another God transformation, which is Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, which of course is a gigantic mouthful, but we're going to deal with it because it looks awesome, and it fucking is awesome. And of course, Frieza has a new transformation, because you can't be a villain on Dragon Ball Z unless you have new transformations that trump card the main protagonist transformations, and that's obviously Golden Frieza. A lot of people have their personal love or hate relationship with the new transformation that is Golden Frieza. For me, I had no real qualms with it. I thought it looked pretty badass, and to this day I still feel like it looks pretty cool. I mean, granted, I would have liked a different design, obviously, than just a color change, but overall, I'm okay with the new look, and of course, I really like the new God transformation that Goku has, but of course, it ends up with them pretty much going at it in a full assault, and then biblical epic Dragon Ball Z action fight sequences ensue. But that's pretty much the premise of this movie. It's essentially just a Frieza story, and how Frieza goes about trying to seek revenge. It's essentially a revenge villain story, which is what Resurrection F is. And for me personally, as much as I love this movie and appreciate what Toriyama did, this movie there is a lot of various things that are wrong with it in comparison to Battle of Gods. Now, I know, I'm the hardcore DBZ fan guy here. If you have been watching my videos since, like, for the last 2 years, you know I'm a hardcore DBZ guy, and I love this shit, and I was highly anticipating this movie, and I thought it was going to be better than Battle of Gods. But after watching it, the only thing I can really say is that they're pretty much on par with each other. They're both awesome. They're both beautiful to look at. They're both wildly, amazingly, phenomenally entertaining. And they're just great movies that, hands down, stand alone in comparison to the slew of Dragon Ball Z movies that are out there. But they both have their own problems. Battle of Gods had their problems, and Resurrection F had their problems. The biggest example of this is the fan service that Toriyama does within this movie. Now, granted, this could have been, you know, Toei Animation listening to the fans after the reception of Battle of Gods, because people who went into Battle of Gods really did not appreciate the fact that it was more of a comedy, and they didn't like the fact that there was not enough action, because Dragon Ball Z is known for its epic action, and it's known mostly as a shonen manga. It's a freaking action manga and anime. It's known for that kind of stuff, and they didn't really get that with Battle of Gods. So I felt like when going into this new movie, they were pretty much like, okay, well, how do we service all the fans and give them everything they wanted into this one movie? And that's what they pretty much did with this one movie. I mean, there's a lot of things that go down that just don't really make sense and don't really serve the story. And a lot of that has to deal with the fact that various characters are in this movie doing things that don't really make that much sense. And of course, the fact that, you know, there's just action amongst action that doesn't really make that much sense. I mean, like, I guess the biggest example of that has to be the main fight with the Z Warriors and Frieza's army. Now, granted, Frieza's army could have been doing God knows what out in the galaxy, you know, training or what have you, but I find that very hard to believe. I mean, hell, Frieza himself pretty much says that, you know, he obviously never trained in his entire life. And if he had that mentality, like a lot of other characters within the universe that are not specifically the Z Warriors, have the mentality of not needing to train because you think you're already the strongest person in the universe. So I find it hard to believe that most of those characters had any kind of advantage over the Z Warriors, especially if you have Gohan, who's a Super Saiyan, who could pretty much annihilate them all. And of course you have Piccolo, who's a Super Namek, who's pretty much, based off fan speculation, is pretty much on par with Perfect Cell. And then you have Tien and Krillin, and then a whole bunch of other weirdness, like Master Roshi fighting on par with the Warriors, which didn't really make that much sense. I think that's really a big indicator of, like, okay, this was fan service because they wanted more action, or here's the action. You get a whole bunch of characters that don't really get the limelight doing stuff that doesn't really make that much sense. Now, granted, I love that. I love the fact that you gave Tien his moment to shine. I love the fact you gave Krillin his moment to shine. I love the fact that you gave even Master Roshi his moment to shine, because they didn't really get that over the course of all of Dragon Ball Z, not to mention in the last movie. But it just doesn't make that much sense, seeing as how we don't know if they're strong enough to even take on most of these warriors, not to mention especially Master Roshi, seeing as how pretty much after the end of Dragon Ball, he was obviously, hands down, more than likely the weakest character other than Yamcha that's human within the Z universe. But that being said, that's just a nitpicky kind of aspect of it. Another major thing that I wasn't big on this movie has to be, obviously, the main villain. Now, granted, I've been praising the fact that they used Frieza for months now, and pretty much the entire year, because I like the fact that they brought back Frieza. But the biggest thing that kind of takes you out of the movie is the fact that Frieza's not a threat in this movie for various reasons. Number one, we all know that he can't beat Goku. I mean, like, Goku's been so far superior to Frieza since the end of the Frieza saga for a long time now. I mean, he defeated Majin Buu, and he fought Beerus, the Lord of the God of Destruction here. So it's impossible for Frieza to, obviously be on par with Goku's power, and they kind of quasi-explain that in the beginning of the film, where they kind of show that, where his servants are like, Frieza, Goku, who's on Earth, pretty much beat Majin Buu, and he's fought Beerus, Lord Beerus, the Destroyer, it's impossible for you to beat him. And they give this kind of like brief explanation to that, as to Frieza's like, okay, well, I understand that, but you don't understand. I was born this strong. Yes, I was always a prodigy since I was born. Since I was a child, I was always this powerful, so I never took the time to train. And I guess that kind of explains a lot, seeing as how Frieza, I guess, just by existing, has always been, I guess, on par with your standard Super Saiyan. So I guess it makes a somewhat sense that if Frieza took some time to train, which he does in this movie, in between Frieza being resurrected and fighting Goku, he pretty much takes a couple months to essentially get enough strength to fight him as a god. So that's a really interesting part of the movie, but that still doesn't explain the fact that, okay, could you actually even be able to beat Goku as a god? And not to mention, based off the one little great, example, Vegeta's also kind of on par with Goku, so you have to take care of him. And then on top of that, you have the gods literally right there watching the entire fight. I mean, Beerus and Whis are like spectators in this fight where they're just watching. I mean, granted, Beerus was like, hey, I don't give a shit what you're doing. If you want revenge on Goku and you want to destroy the Earth, go ahead. I'm not going to interfere. But at the same time, I still feel deep down inside myself that Beerus would not allow Frieza to destroy the Earth because of several reasons. Number one, he does not like Frieza. That was pretty much made clear within the series Dragon Ball Super and the last movie. And number two, Beerus loves Earth food. Why would he allow Earth to be destroyed if he loves the food so much and continues to allow them to exist because of their food? But that being said, that's just also another kind of nitpicky thing. But that's just a major flaw with this movie, is that Frieza obviously is not a major threat in this movie, and at any point I never felt like he was ever going to have the upper hand against Goku. I mean, granted, they kind of gave kind of a, forgive me for saying, but bullshit reason that Frieza kind of actually gets the upper hand on Goku, but it just doesn't make sense, and it's just very illogical. I mean, granted, villains in the Dragon Ball Z movies are known for getting the upper hand on the warriors and getting the upper hand on Goku, and then Goku has to gain all of his energy back and contain all the energy from his friends, and then, give him a epic Kamehameha wave or Spirit Bomb to destroy them. I understand that. That's a cliche within the DBZ movie franchise, but if we've learned anything from the last movie or learned anything from the series itself, that, that's not necessarily true. That was more of a movie cliche than anything else. But at the end of the day, Frieza was never really a major threat to begin with, seeing as how Goku was far superior to him, and as we see within the movie, even Goku himself was just playing with him. I mean, there's a sequence within the movie, which I love, I thought it was a badass scene, where Goku actually does a Bruce Lee on Frieza, where he gives him like a 1-inch punch and just dominates his ass, which was freaking epic and awesome to watch. But that was just a big indicator that, yeah, Goku he may have been taking it seriously for a good portion of the movie, and he was very interested to see how Frieza progressed, and how even Goku mentions in the beginning of the fight where it's like, wow, Frieza could have, like, if he was a good guy, he would have been an awesome sparring partner, but it was just a waste of talent. And that's kind of how he explains it. So I can understand why the fight dragged on as long as it did. I mean, come on, it's Goku. Of course he's going to drag it on, but he was always superior in every form of the fight, and there was no way that Frieza would ever be able to get the upper hand on him, with the exception of that one bullshit death ring thing, which I still don't understand what the purpose of that was, or how powerful is that ring. I mean, granted, there's a lot of illogical tech-based things in DBZ, but that death ring was capable of blowing a hole in Goku's chest. That's kind of crazy when you think about it. I mean, like, that's more powerful than a Green Lantern ring. I mean, a ring that can, like, literally put a hole in Goku's chest. A Goku who's literally a god now. I mean, granted, they probably just shoehorned that there for the sole purpose of being like, oh shit, Goku's down for the count. Oh my god, no! They probably put that there for the sole purpose of having the audience feel like that, but at the same time, it still is illogical because you still got Vegeta there, and you still got Beerus and Whis over there. So, at the end of the day, the main folly of this movie is a very double-edged sword. It's Frieza, Lord Frieza, as the main villain. I love Frieza. He's hands down next to Vegeta and Cell, one of my favorite DBZ villains. But yeah, he just was not a major threat. It's kind of like watching Age of Ultron all over again. Like, it's an entertaining, colorful, awesome, action-packed movie that you love and you really like watching. It's great to look at, but the villain does not at any point ever feel like a major threat, and he was very easily to defeat. That was the main problem with this movie. Frieza is not really a major threat, and he's very easily to beat, even with his golden form. But that being said, there is another real major thing that I was not really into in this new movie, which of course has to go to the ending of the movie itself. Now, granted, DBZ, even though it has amazing endings to its sagas, it has been known to have somewhat anticlimactic endings, specifically like, I guess, the end of the Z series, or, the end of GT, or the end of certain movies, or, the end of certain things with DBZ. It very has a occasional anticlimactic ending to its amazing epic endings to its sagas and storylines, but this one is definitely extraordinarily anticlimactic, and it's very much, and I want to use this term specifically, a cop-out. Now, granted, going into the sequel, even before the sequel was titled, even before, they went into production into this sequel, the second Battle of Gods was done and over with, and the second Toriyama and Toei Animation announced that they were doing a Battle of Gods 2, the number one thing all of us, and you can go back and research it all on YouTube, every single DBZ fan wanted Vegeta to be the main hero and protagonist of this movie. Everyone said, we want Vegeta to beat the main bad guy for Battle of Gods 2. And they kind of hint and do that throughout this movie. I mean, spoilers, but there's a point in this movie where you get to see Vegeta and Goku train on Beerus and Whis' planet in their dimension, and of course they get to fight and train with Whis. Granted, the only reason they get to do that is more of like, it's a give or take kind of relationship. Beerus gets to have Earth food, while Goku and Vegeta get to have free training from Whis, which is a hysterical dynamic, which I love and I really like, but that indicates to me that, okay, well now Vegeta is at least on par with Goku's strength, because we've been wondering for a long time, is like, oh, is Vegeta stronger than Goku? Is Vegeta weaker than Goku? Blah, blah, blah. Well, by that sequence in that movie, it kind of indicates the fact that, well, maybe they're on par. And then when you get to the later half of the movie, the third act of the film, when the second Goku, of course, gets his mortal wounds from, freaking Frieza's servants, and Frieza gets the upper hand in the sequence, Vegeta decides to step in. This is his time to really shine. This is his point in time to really dominate Frieza and put him in the ground for everything that he did to him, because let's face it, as much as most of the cast of Dragon Ball Z has been tormented by the character of Lord Frieza, Vegeta has been the one that has taken the most torment and depression from Lord Frieza. I mean, Lord Frieza single-handedly demolished his entire planet, destroyed his entire race, killed his father, possibly even killed his parents in general, killed his father, enslaved him, and pretty much created his own version of himself within Vegeta. The Vegeta we all know and love is pretty much a second half rehash of Frieza. He made him into what he wanted, and Vegeta never got to have the life that he wanted to have, and pretty much made him the person he was. I mean, pretty much killed him in a certain point in the series, not to mention killed a lot of other people, destroyed Planet Namek, and also killed Krillin. There's a lot of things that Lord Frieza did to the DBZ cast and to Vegeta specifically. And of course, we got to redeem ourselves. Goku defeated Frieza on Namek, Trunks sliced Frieza up in tiny little pieces and blew him up, and that was awesome. But Vegeta never got to redeem himself, got to, avenge everything that happened to his race, to his planet, to his father, to himself. He never got to have that, and this was his time to do that, and he actually almost gets to do that. We get to see, once again, spoilers. Of course, they've been living under a rock, haven't been looking on the internet. This is not a major spoiler, but of course it's revealed to us that Vegeta as well is capable of becoming a Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, which again kind of doesn't make that much sense, because that would imply that, you had the fucking Saiyans, round up and give him this power, and then he had to use that power to, conceal it inside himself and then convert that into a Super Saiyan form. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of logistics between that, which I'll probably make a separate video even talking about that. But right now, we're going to let that go because, hell, it's Vegeta, and he has a new form. Fucking awesome. Granted, it's not Super Saiyan 3, which a lot of people wanted, but it's Super Saiyan God. Super Saiyan, which is probably even more badass. But that being said, he becomes this new form. He kicks Frieza's ass. He's dominating his ass. And Frieza's like, how is this possible that you're stronger? And bam, bitch slapped his ass. Punching him the fucking hell. Puts him in the ground. I mean, Vegeta beats him so bad that he reverts to his final form outside of his golden form. It's freaking awesome. And then the ending comes. You get to see this moment where Vegeta's finally gonna destroy him. He finally revealed that he was superior to Frieza. This is his moment to shine. This is the moment that we all been waiting for as DBZ fans ever since the end of the Frieza arc. And it doesn't happen. Exactly, it's the 180 of that. It's the 360 of that. It's completely the opposite of what we wanted was a follow-up to that scene. And it's the complete opposite of that. Essentially, spoilers, but Frieza destroys the entire planet, including everyone on it. Of course, some characters get to survive because, you know, obviously Whis created a shield over them, so they got to survive the blast radius, but Vegeta, pretty much everyone on Earth is destroyed, not to mention Frieza, kinda, quasi, because, you know, once again, Frieza can survive planet destructions, and he can also breathe in space, all that kind of bullshit, so if you remember from the Frieza saga, that obviously makes sense, but of course, at a last-ditch effort, Frieza destroys the Earth with everyone on it, including Vegeta. And that's pretty much the end of that. And of course it comes to its standard DBZ ending, which is what I call the cop-out, where of course Whis, who reveals in the beginning of the film that he has the ability to essentially go back in time, or at least reverse time, rewind time, if you will, to at least to a good 3.5 minutes, or something like that. And essentially they rewind time into what happened prior, and of course tells Goku that, you know, obviously, because the big major thing within this movie, which is what I love, is that Whis pretty much tells Goku and Vegeta their major problems, because while they're training on, you know, Beerus's planet, they kind of discuss the fact that, okay, Vegeta, you want to be stronger than Goku. You can never do that because of this. Goku, you want to be the strongest in the universe. You can't do that because of this. You know, Whis kind of tells you that, and that was the major problem with both characters. You know, Goku is unwilling to destroy anything. He's incapable of doing anything fast. He's, you know, arrogant, and he doesn't take things seriously. Vegeta, blah blah blah. You know, he does this whole thing, his whole spiegel on his whole speech on discussing why Goku and Vegeta are strong but are incapable of, you know, accomplishing these goals, which is awesome and a great sequence. And that kind of gets revealed at the end, where it's like Whis explains, "This is your fault. If you didn't end it quickly like you should have done, this is, you know, this would never happen." But of course, on the flip side, I do have the power to, you know, rewind time. So it's okay. Fuck the lesson. Let's go back in time, Back to the Future style, and fix what you fucked up. And of course, that's what they essentially do. They go back in time, which again is another kind of weird thing, time travel-y kind of problem that most people have. It's like, okay, if they went back in time, wouldn't they mean that there's two sets of the Z-Warriors, Goku, Beerus, and Whis, and all of them? Or do they just revert to their consciousness? I don't know, it's a weird thing, but fuck it, let's just forget about it because it's anime, fuck it, who cares? Logics and scientific knowledge out the fucking door, forget it. But at the same time, we'll think about that later in a possible separate theory video, but let's just forget it for now. At the same time, they go back in time, they fix the whole thing, Goku essentially blows Frieza up with the Kamehameha wave, it's pretty much a done deal, that's the end of the movie. And essentially Goku and Vegeta have their little, you know, their little talk together. It's like, you know, wow, we work as a good team. We should do this again sometime. No, because I hate you. Okay, that's awesome. Ha ha ha. That's pretty much the end of the movie, which is just a gigantic, you know, cop out in my, you know, it's just, I know I'm kind of going on a little rant there, but it just was the complete opposite of what I really was envisioning this movie to be. I mean, granted, I know it's Dragon Ball Z. I know that, you know, Goku is the golden child of anime, and he's, you know, the main hero. He's the main protagonist of this franchise. I understand that. So, of course, Goku has to be the winner at the end of the day. But at the same time, I thought we were past that, because granted, Goku is the main hero, but it's not like he beats every single villain in the series, not to mention the fact that he was the main hero of the last movie, and he didn't get to beat the bad guy. So, there's this long trend of main heroes not specifically being the person who beats the bad guy. I mean, look at the series itself. Like, Goku didn't beat Raditz. He did not beat Vegeta, technically. You know, it was Gohan. He did not beat Cell. He didn't beat, you know, he didn't beat, he didn't kill Frieza. He didn't freaking beat the Ginyu Force. He didn't really do a lot of that things, and not to say that he was completely useless throughout the course of making those specific story arcs. He was obviously a main factor, and we all love him to death. We all love Goku. We can't deny that. He's one of our favorite characters. He's the golden child of anime, the golden child of the DBZ franchise. He's the main hero protagonist, and we all love him. We all know and love him. You see Goku, you're fucking happy. But this was supposed to be a Vegeta movie. This was a revenge story. This whole storyline was a revenge villain story. So why not have this revenge villain story end on a high note, which is Vegeta being the one to avenge everything that happened prior within this one story. This was the end of this story arc. Unless they decide to bring Frieza in the next fucking 10 years, then maybe. But at the same time, I feel like they should have just went 180 from their conventional fan service and just went right into Vegeta winning for once and actually defeating the main villain, specifically Frieza, who tormented him for so many years. That's just my major problem with it. But overall, now that I mentioned everything I didn't like, there's a lot of things I liked about this movie. Number one, the action is amazing. If we've learned anything from Battle of Gods, the new style of technical animation and 3D animation that was put into Battle of Gods, they highlighted the living shit out of that into Resurrection F. The fighting sequences are amazing. Dragon Ball Z is known for epic fighting. This movie has a lot of it. I mean, every character in this movie fights, and it's freaking biblical, and it's freaking badass. It's so freaking awesome to see every single little character, even the fanservy ones, really fucking go at it, all force, kick some ass, Gohan kicks some ass, Piccolo kicks some ass, Krillin kicks some ass, even Master Roshi kicks some ass, Vegeta, we get to see him kick some ass for a little bit. You see Goku have this awesome fight with Frieza, amazing animation, the fight between them, specifically as God and Golden Frieza, is beautifully done. It's an amazing fight, hands down one of my favorite fights from the movies. And of course, we get some new characters. The new servants for Frieza were interesting. I mean, I wasn't big on them, especially the one who has the freaking death ring, which doesn't make any sense, but whatever, I'm going to forgive that for right now, because at the end of the day, they all lose, so who cares? It's a Dragon Ball Z movie. The villains lose, unless you're Beerus. But that being said, of course, we get the return of Beerus and Whis, which were amazing additions to the franchise from the first movie, Battle of Gods, and they get to come back within this movie, and it's just awesome. Beerus and Whis, I love their dynamic, I love their relationship, their characterization are awesome. Beerus is always funny, Whis is hysterical when he's being all technical, and I just love the lessons that they get to give the certain characters, specifically Goku and Vegeta. I mean, that whole relationship where they're training, and then they have that ending scene at the end of the movie, and they're discussing is this is your problem, this is how you need to fix it, this is what you need to do. All that stuff, I love that. That was amazing learning lessons for Goku and Vegeta to really progress within this series and this franchise. And of course, we get a new addition to the franchise, which of course we got in if you have read the prequel companion series to Dragon Ball, Jaco, the Galactic Patrolman, is of course in this movie, and he has amazing comedic part. I mean, Jaco was hands down my favorite part of this movie. He was hilarious. He was hysterical. He was awesome. His fight sequences were freaking badass. He has this really cool gun that eliminates and disintegrates people and shit. It was awesome and badass. Jaco the Galactic Patrolman. I originally thought why the hell is he in this movie? What the hell can he do? And then bam, he just kicks so much ass, and he was hilarious. I mean, those sequences where he's just being funny and just fucking around and not wanting to fight Frieza and his servants, and Bulma makes him, and then you have the sequence where he's like, hey, can I get a picture with the God of Destruction? That was hysterical. I love those moments. Jaco the Galactic Patrolman was hilarious, awesome addition to the franchise, and I'm glad that he's in this, and I can't wait to see him in more Dragon Ball Z content. But that being said, there's a whole bunch of other things that are really amazing. The direction, the writing, the freaking designs of the new characters, the design of the old characters, the animation style, the epic fighting, the music. There's just a lot to look for. The quality that was put in. This is just high quality DBZ awesomeness, and I love that. This movie is a solid movie. I mean, granted, I know I highlighted the main problems because those were the main things I had with this movie that are big, but that doesn't take away from the greatness of this movie. This movie is still a good, solid movie. There's a lot to look forward to, and there's a lot to be enjoyed and entertained by this movie. It's not like those main things take you out of the movie and make you feel like, wow, this movie was shit because it didn't have Vegeta be the main. It didn't have, just because of that doesn't mean like this movie is hands down the worst thing ever. It's still awesome and solid and great and well acted and beautifully animated and just amazingly done. It's just an awesome, solid movie. And at the end of the day, if I had to rate this movie, I give it a good 8.5 out of 10. Maybe even a 9 on a really, really good day. But at the end of the day, it's a freaking solid DBZ movie, and it's a solid anime movie on its own. I personally love this movie, and I highly recommend lots of people checking it out. If you're an anime fan, a DBZ fan, it's a must. You must check out this movie. It's awesome. And from what I've been hearing, it's been making a lot of money in the US. So hopefully Toei Animation and Toriyama, even though I know they're making Dragon Ball Super as we speak, it would be kind of awesome if they made a follow-up to this movie that would be pretty badass. I mean, I know they're doing Super, so maybe they might not do it for a good couple years, but if they do, I'll be highly appreciative of that, because the last two movies they've given us, Battle Gods and Resurrection F, have been solid, awesome, rockin' movies. So I definitely can't wait to see what they put out next. And I definitely want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Overall, this movie is awesome. It's badass. The action is great. The fighting is great. The characters are awesome. The new characters are awesome. You know, I love the new character designs. Frieza coming back was interesting. I love there's a lot about this movie I just love. I love this freaking movie. At the end of the day, there are things I did not like about the movie. Obviously, number one, I didn't like Frieza being the main villain not because I hate Frieza, I love Frieza, but he was never a major threat. I mean, like, at the end of the day, I feel the same way I felt about Ultron did I feel about Frieza, so that's kind of major problem with that. Also, I didn't really like the ending of the movie. It was a very huge cop-out. I'm just saying, I mean, come on, guys. Let Vegeta be the winner, especially when it comes to Frieza. I mean, hell, you could have had even Trunks come back from the future and do the same thing all over again. I could have been happy with that, but no, actually, forget that. Just let Vegeta be the main hero. And I'm pretty sure you would have had us, you didn't even have to add all the other fan servicey things with the action and the fighting and, characters that are surprisingly way more powerful than they actually are being this movie. You could have just put out all of that and just had this one fan servicey thing, and all of us would have been happy. But overall, it's a very conventional Dragon Ball Z story. And that's also a major problem with this movie. The great thing about Battle of Gods in comparison is that it had a very unconventional story, but this one was a little bit more average when it comes to the story. And of course, the ending and Frieza thing. Just major problems with this movie, but overall it doesn't take the place of the awesomeness of what this movie stands for. And it's just overall epic and awesome. Animation's great, music is great, characters are great, the acting's great. This movie is just awesome and you should check it out. Overall, in the comment section below, let me know what your personal thoughts are on Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F. I give it an 8.5, even a 9 on a good day. What do you give it? What your personal thoughts are in comparison to Battle of Gods? And of course, what your personal thoughts are on the future of the Dragon Ball Z movie franchise. And of course, how do you think this will be converted into Dragon Ball Super? Which of course, if you've not been watching that, spoilers, but it's the sequel to Dragon Ball Z series, and of course I've been reviewing it. We're up to episode 4 at this point in time, so if you want to know my personal thoughts on that, go to my channel, check it out. Shameless plug time. Please check out my Dragon Ball Super reviews, and of course check out my Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods reviews, specifically my commentary on the movie. I'll probably do a commentary to this movie as soon as it comes out on Blu-ray, so definitely be on the lookout for that. And of course check out my Goku vs. Superman rant. It's the Rant of Legends. And of course, that's pretty much it for shameless plugs. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at JohnShka12. Subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already, and I hope you guys enjoyed. And this has been JohnShka12.